Chief Executive, good evening. I'm from CCTV. Why does the government announce the postponement of the LegCo election at this point? What is the overall meaning to Hong Kong society? According to the government's assessment, what will be the epidemic situation in Hong Kong? And what about prevention control measures? Will the government continue to ask for support and assistance from the Central People's Government? The other question is about the United States. The United States has expressed the possible sanctions against Hong Kong government officials because of the national security law. Will there be a higher chance of sanctions? 3 questions about postponing the LegCo election and the meaning for our society. That is to prevent the epidemic situation from worsening. As I explained just now, the LegCo general election involves 3 million voters all coming out to poll on the same date. There would be a lot of crowd events leading to grave public health risks. And meanwhile, from now to the 6th of September, there would be electioneering activities, again bringing a lot of public health risks. So I think we should all fight the virus together at this point. About Hong Kong citizens stranded on the mainland and the overseas, they have the right to vote, and we need to respect that. And once the border points are open again, they can come back and exercise their right to vote, and that's the meaning. Second, about the development of the epidemic, I think this is rather difficult. I don't think even the WHO chief could give you a concrete answer. I remember 3 days ago, he mentioned the word accelerating, and that is to say the pandemic is still accelerating. We have over 200,000 new confirmed cases every day around the world, and in one day it spiked to 300,000 cases with a higher mortality rate. So we need to be prepared and be prepared for the worsening of the epidemic and spreading of the disease, especially when we look at the confirmed cases. They're spread across different districts with people from all walks of life being affected. We understand that there are still a lot of silent carriers in the community. For the 4 high-risk groups, staff of the residential care homes, taxi drivers, catering business staff, and also property management sector, we conducted 50 to 60,000 cases, and we've already identified a dozen confirmed cases. You may say that the detection rate is 0.03 or 4%, but that's already a lot comparing to the general population of 7 million. So it is possible that the epidemic will further exacerbate. Now, this is not a press conference on anti-epidemic measures, but let me say that we are not relaxing our effort. In fact, we're tightening up our measures. For example, we are stepping up our testing effort and contact tracing, and we're also stepping up on the provision of facilities. Now, the reporter mentioned support from the Central People's Government. Earlier, I made a formal request to the Central People's Government on a number of things. First, testing capacity and also treatment facilities. And the Central People's Government has made a public statement that the Central People's Government will give full support to Hong Kong. So I hope very soon I'll be able to brief you on the work involving support from the CPG. There is also another area of support that we'd like to have from the CPG, and that is the supply of vaccines. Because as we know, around the world, there are different studies on the development of vaccines. And likewise, there have been very good progress on the research on vaccines on the mainland. So once it is developed, we hope that vaccines can be supplied to our 7 million people in Hong Kong. At the same time, around the world, We've also taken steps to procure vaccines when they're developed. Third point, national security law. Indeed, earlier, after passage of the law, the United States and other countries in Europe have expressed possible sanctioning. I need to emphasize that Hong Kong is an inalienable part of China, part of China, and national security law is the domestic affair of Hong Kong, and any interference is in breach of international treaties. Now, Hong Kong SAR is part of China, and I'm the chief executive of this part of China. Be it the national security law or the postponement of LegCo general election, I do so from the perspective of public interest. That is, we enact the law to safeguard national security. And by postponing the LegCo general election, we seek to ensure public health in Hong Kong. I don't understand why whilst we do this work in Hong Kong, we should be subject to sanction from other countries. I don't understand the logic. It's neither logical nor rational. On the part of the Hong Kong SAR government, we have introduced sufficient prevention control measures. So unless we are talking about really atomic mutual destructive measures, I don't see the logic, because even for be it the European Union or the United States, we have the trade. They have the largest trade surplus. For the U.S. last year, the trade surplus stood at 26 billion. For European Union, $24.5 billion. So you see which side would be harmed. For the U.S., they have 1,300 companies in Hong Kong, and for EU, 2,300 companies in Hong Kong. And if technology and weapons are not supplied to Hong Kong, of course, we can look for other procurements. So if Hong Kong's investment is not accepted, I believe they do stand harm, say, for Australia, with the third largest foreign trading partners. So any such a sanctioning act would only harm themselves. As far as I'm concerned, now I've said before that I do not have any assets in the United States, nor do I long for moving to the United States. So it's neither logical nor reasonable. So for the sanctioning suggestion, I would say that I would just laugh it off.